That's right.
Yeah. One of the things that I think that we tend to do as parents in the at-home schooling situation is, we worry a lot about gaps in education. Like, what if I miss this, or what if I miss that? And in reference to what you're saying, I think it is important to recognize that there's a lot of freedom there, and that your main goal is not necessarily to cover every single thing, to dot every I and cross every T. Your main goal is to teach your child how to learn. And if they know how to learn, then even if you've missed something along the way and there's a gap, they know how to get the information that they need and accomplish what they need to accomplish regardless. They can figure it out because that's what you've taught them.
And that's the self-direction.
Yeah, that's the goal. Period.
Yeah, because you're preparing your child for life. You're not preparing your child, for some kind of system by which, to take a test.
Right.
You're equipping them for life. And I want them, I want my education to be just as fun as life, and so I think it's important to just know that there's freedom in homeschooling your children.
Yeah, I was going to read you just one comment. This is from a parent who's not homeschooling, but kind of doing this crisis schooling that we've had here because of COVID-19. And she says, I do wonder if the school's intrusion into the home via e-learning and putting parents in the position of enforcer of assignments, etc., is causing harm to children. Parents are stressed, feel like failures when they can't keep up, coping with drinking, and sadly, taking it all out on their kids. This is just in healthy, loving homes. What is your reaction to, this kind of a comment?
I can certainly see how a family who their children are in public school, they are working, and there's a system that works well for them, and then they've been thrown into this situation, can certainly experience trauma in their home from it. I think that's natural. Everything's off. Nothing's the way it's supposed to be. And here we are. And now I've got to figure out how to teach you, how to get you to do these things that I'm not used to having to motivate you to do. And so you're going to have natural trauma in that. And I'm sure that there are situations where it can affect a household to an extreme. Probably across the board, it's not that extreme, but or for the majority. But I'm sure that those situations can happen. How to speak to that? I don't know that I can speak to that with any kind of experience.
I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to draw an example. So the best day of school in my life was when we had a substitute teacher. Because I knew that we were not going to have to do a whole lot in that class that day because of this substitute teacher. So parents are being asked to be the substitute teacher. And I can only imagine how difficult that is because parents are regimented in the way that they do things. I get up at 6 o'clock, I have breakfast by 7, I'm out the door by 8, I'm at work by 8:15. You know what I mean? They have this, and then all of a sudden, boom, here comes COVID-19, and you're responsible for educating your children. Well, they're not just dealing with the stress of homeschooling their child all of a sudden. They're dealing with with the stress of life, because they've got to work all this stuff around things that the public school system has been taking care of.
And they're trying to figure out how to provide for their family and do all these things in the midst of not being able to work. And, so there's so many other factors that are playing into that. The schooling is probably not the most difficult thing in the process. It's just maybe the bigger frustration in the process.
And if you have an older child, I can promise you that older child is seeing you as they see a substitute teacher. That's just, they know that this is temporary, and they know what they can get by with and what they can't get by with the substitute teacher. And you're thinking, well, no, we've got to do this. Your teacher sent this email. This email says you have to have this accomplished by tomorrow, blah, blah, And I can completely understand that, you know. So it should be as simple as this too shall pass, you know.
Well, and I think you need to look at what has to be accomplished, like what really has to be accomplished versus all the stuff you're being given.
Right. Yeah, the busy work.
Have to do all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that you as the parent in that circumstance, in the situation that we're in right now, you can make choices as to what is important and what is not. And you know, there is some leeway there. You know, the stuff that I mean, the schools are trying their best to give you the best guidance that they can to help keep your kid on track. But that doesn't mean that you have to cross every I and dot every T of everything that they give you. You know, you can make choices in that.
I have had conversations with teachers who are now having to homeschool their own children. They're having the same struggles that all the other teachers, you know, all the other homeschool moms now are having to deal with. So it's not exclusive to it's everybody, you know, it's everybody in that situation, because they're used to operating in a classroom the way that they see a classroom should operate. And all of a sudden here they've got 2 kids at home that do not learn like they learn, or do not process the way that they process, you know. So
and it's a challenge, I think, even for homeschool families during this time, because you have spouses that are home that aren't normally there. You have different things happening that are throwing your routines off. So even though we've always schooled at home, doesn't mean that we're not dealing with some of those same issues, you know, because schooling at home, regardless of whether you chose to homeschool or you were pushed into that situation, it's not easy. And any little thing that throws off your normal routine becomes a challenge. And you know, so I don't know. I just certainly can empathize and see that there can definitely be a lot of trauma in a family unit because of being thrust into this kind of a situation.
Yeah. And definitely as a parent, you have kind of the anxiety of, oh my gosh, you know, this is my kid. You know, you have the long-term perspective of I need to make sure they turn out, you know, I don't want to miss anything.
You have to take responsibility.
and it's different than, you know, and again, when I was a teacher, you know, I love my students. I certainly was invested in them, but, you know, at the end of the day, they went home. And, you know, I keep up with some of them, but, you know, but it's different when it's your child, you know, this is, you know, I'm going to be, you know, the grandparent to your kids, you know, I want you to turn out, you know, in the right way. So there's just it's a lot more pressure. And I think, you know, like you said, that's a good point, that even some of my friends who are teachers have talked about that. And it's different than teaching, you know, somebody else's child. Let me read, and this is a little bit longer. This is a testimony, and this is from a mom who's been homeschooling for a while. So I just wanted to kind of read this to you about some of her struggles, and then get some feedback. She says, "Here's a normal day of homeschooling for us. As soon as I tell my daughter it's time for school, she starts to melt down. It's never a surprise. We start about the same time, and I give her multiple warnings: 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes before. She is 9. She will cry, scream at me, slam her bedroom door, lay on the floor like a toddler, beg for more time, argue about the order in which we do things. She is very disrespectful. She has had every consequence we can think of. None of them have worked. She is easily distracted and has dyslexia. I know that makes it hard. I try giving her lots of breaks, which it's a fight at the end of every break, taking days off here and there. She wants me to sit right beside her for everything, even though I have 2 younger boys that I can't leave to their own devices for a whole school day. It's very frustrating, and I feel like giving up. She is in tutoring for reading and does great for the tutor. Smiles, no questions asked, does everything perfectly. It's something to do with our dynamic. I have no clue how to fix this."
Well, it sounds to me like that she needs a little prep and pep. and what I mean by that is that if there's a certain thing that she wants her child to accomplish the next day, then I would start talking about it the day before. and I would enter into a conversation with the child. What would you like to do first? How would you like to accomplish that? What's important to you about this specific task? You know, and that way, when before the child goes to bed, the child has already set their schedule for the next day, and they have a little better understanding of what's going to be accomplished during the day because they had a voice in the process. So, hey, what time do you think would be the best time to start school in the morning? And what would you like to start with? Would you like to start with math? Would you like to start with English? Would you like to start whatever? You know, tell me what time you think would be good for you to be able, that you would be most effective. Now, listen, this parent is also dealing with some other issues, some learning disabilities and stuff like that. So there's a level of that in other words, this is not what I'm doing, is what I'm telling you is not a universal truth, you know, but it does sound to me like once you have prepped the child has an opportunity to have a voice. Then the only thing that you need to do the next day is the pep, which is the pep talk. You know, you can do this. This is what you decided last night, and I'm so proud of you for making this decision. Da 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 da. And so you got to prep, then you got to pep. So that's what you want to do. You prep them by giving them a voice, and you pep them by giving words of encouragement. So I think that's what I would do. Now, whether it would work or not, I have no clue, you know, but everything's trial and error, by the way, in counseling. So that's what I would do, is that child needs to be, and I know this is true of our daughter. She would become anxious about all the things that had to be done. So we just got in the habit, or actually Mandy got in the habit of saying, hey, this is what we've got to accomplish. I want to give you a heads up, you know, kind of let you know what's going on, so that by the time whatever needed to be done, she was already prepared mentally. She was already prepared. She had already been prepped, you know. She needs that in her daily life, just with everything. Like, she wants to know if there's things that we're going to need to do as a family throughout the day, if we're going to need to go to the store, if we're going to need to, she likes to know that stuff ahead of time. She doesn't want to be surprised by it. So, and that's something that's been kind of hard for me with her, and learning how to give her remember to give her insight into what her day is going to look like the next day. Because I'm task oriented and I'm all about being busy, and I don't always remember to prep her. But it is, when those things happen, it makes a huge difference in how our day goes and what her response is to the situation. And I agree with what Keith is saying, just going back to that whole, you know, your child needs to feel like they have some kind of control in what their day looks like. So, hey, these are the things that you need to do tomorrow. Which one would you like to do first? What time would you like to, you know, do you think you would rather do that at 9, or do you think you want to do it at 10? And hey, I know you want me to sit with you when you're doing your schoolwork. Unfortunately, I can't do that all day long because I need to take care of your brothers. But which one of these things do you really want me with you the most for? And if it's, you know, A and C, then okay, I'm going to make time to sit with you to do A and C, but I need for you to plan to do it at this time so that I can be available to your brothers here. You know, and it gives them choices, and it gives them control in their day, and they don't just feel like I've got to do exactly what they're telling me, and whether I feel like it or I don't, and I don't want to be here. At the same time, you're teaching them how to manage their behavior, how to manage their emotions, and so it's not just about. I don't want my child at 14 years old to be dependent upon me emotionally. You know, I want them to be. I don't necessarily like the word independent, but I do want them to be self-motivated, self-disciplined. Okay. So, and in order for that to happen, then I've got to start that at a young enough age where they have some ownership of their world. You know, that's how you teach someone responsibility. So.
All right. Well, I've kept you too long, but thank you so much. I mean, I know we could go on. We may have to do another, like a part 2 of, of this, because I know this is a big issue for folks, and I know a lot of people that, have thought about homeschooling, and now that they've gotten this kind of trial run, this area in particular, the personality differences and conflict, is kind of an area. I think a lot of people are a little scared of that, or they kind of want to put that onto the teacher. But I just feel that in the homeschool environment, again, what we kind of said at the beginning of when you can kind of push through some of these struggles, and then the bonds that you can create because of it, I just feel like it's certainly worthwhile. Is there anything, closing thoughts that you want to share?
No, if anybody's interested in the personality stuff, I understand that you're going to put that down in the comments. And there's a couple of assessments. A lot of those personality assessments are, they cost money. So, like if you can't just go take a Meyers-Briggs for free, but there are kind of clones, if you will, some free versions out there online that you can take that will give you a lot of information and
a good overview. They may not take you as deep,
right,
but it'll give you a really good starting point, somewhere to work from.
And recognizing, knowing those differences will be of great value.
Would the assessments, would children be able to take them also, you think? Or like at what age would they be able to?
So. I think that you as an adult, if you can be objective, you can actually determine. I mean, we did Ella's personality when she was what, 4 or 5 years old? Because we basically did the assessment by, observation, observing her behavior, how she responded in certain situations. So we did the person, and we were right. We actually were right. And so I think that no, the little kids can't do that. And a lot of the questions on most of the assessments, they cannot be reworded in such a way that a child would understand it because the wording is so intentional in the questioning, because that's part of what gets you to a place to where they're accurate in their, in their assessment of the personality. So anyway, for what it's worth, I think that as an adult, as a parent, you can do that if you're in tune with who your kid really is and not what you want them to be. Then I think that you could do that. Like I said, we did it for Ella, and I think a parent can. Well, do you think she does this? Do you think she's more like this?
I think. Do the assessment yourself first.
Yes.
And then you're familiar with the questions. And as far as what age is it, that they can do that themselves, every child's different. So I think that if you do the assessment yourself, then you'll be able to look at that and determine, is this something that my child could do and answer these questions, in the way they need to be answered to get to the result we're looking for. Or not. And if not, then do what Keith said. Just go through, and you know your child probably a lot better than you realize. And so you can go through and you can do that assessment. And I can tell you that doing that for Ella at an early age, I don't think that there's much that we would have answered, that she would have answered differently today than what we were able to see then.
Matter of fact, we recently did this 16 personality profile that is one of the links that you'll have. We just recently did that with Ella, and I even learned more about her in that process because there was things that I had kind of pegged her to be that I realize now that I was wrong, and it gave me greater insight into why she does what she does, why she thinks the way she thinks. Yeah, because
it was a more in-depth version.
It was a more in-depth version. But it's called 16personalities.com, I think is what it is. And the nice thing about that 16personalities.com is that once you take the assessment and you find out what you are, you can go on YouTube and watch all these different videos that deal specifically with that personality type, which was pretty interesting. Yeah. Pretty interesting. I never thought about it that way, So anyway, for what it's worth.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Keith and Mandy, and we will be back next week.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Bye-bye.